All right, artists. So you have got your weaving started. The warp is on the loom, and you started to put your weft through the warp. So if you've got a nice solid one color sort of a band or frame here, the next step that we're going to do, I'm going to show you a couple techniques for patterns. So this is going to give you just horizontal stripes of color. And the next technique that I'm going to show you will give you vertical stripes of color. So you'll need two colors that are contrasting, so different from each other. And I'm going with yellow and blue. So I've already weaved the yellow through the warp. And now I'm going to use this pencil to go through and just check, and then I will start the blue. And I'm going to bring it from, so my yellow started over here on this side, so I'm going to I came across. So now I'm going to go back the same direction, or the opposite direction, I should say, right? And I'm going to pull it through, and I always want to leave a tail that's about 2 fingers long. This is really short. It's going to be kind of hard. If I want to tie knots, to tie these two together, or to weave that into my finished work, it's going to be a little challenging because it's so short. So, all right, so now my blue has gone across, and now I'm going to do the yellow again. So the yellow is always going to have the same pattern, so the yellows always go underneath the same ones, so I can check that. And I'm just going to bring it underneath the blue, and that's going to help lock it in place. So you want it to come underneath before it goes over, okay? So I went underneath the tail, and now I'll go over the first, and I'm going to zoom in here. I think. I'm going to try to. There we go. Okay, so I've gone under the blue, I'm going over the first warp, and then under the ones that are lifted. And again, when I'm coming across, I don't want to pull too tight because I don't want to make it narrower. I want to keep it the same width all the way across. I want to push the yarn down as I weave so that it hides the warp strings. All right, so my blue is going to go over the yellow, and then it's going to go under the first one. And when I do this, this piece here, this yellow, is acting like a warp string, right? So it doesn't become unwoven. So it's important to make sure that you're looping it each time, okay? So you'll see the striping start to show up. And this is going to be a blue, so I'm going over the yellow. And I can just check, you know, it's tunneling under the ones that the yellow is bridging. And I'm just pushing down each time. A little tape on the end of this, it's starting to unravel. So your yarn is made up of many little strands of yarn that have been twisted together to create the thickness of this particular yarn. So depending on how many pieces are twisted together will determine how thick your yarn is. And so it's starting to create these vertical stripes of blue and yellow. And when you're doing the weaving, you do want to go slowly. I highly, highly recommend the pencil. Yes, you can do it without. However, it really just makes it an extra layer of clarity, I call it. I can see that where I need to go, which ones I need to go under. I know that I'm not skipping any. Now, artists do intentionally skip sometimes, and that is an option that you could do if you wanted to create holes and different types of patterns. So, but then in that case, you want to be very intentional about it, because otherwise you risk unweaving what you've done. So. So I've got that on there, and the next tutorial will have how to make a triangular sort of step pattern using 2 different colors. So check that out if that's something you might be interested in incorporating into your weaving composition. Happy weaving!